Welcome to part 2 of the complete walkthrough of making stickers with a Silhouette Portrait 3. Here's a link for the first part if you haven't seen it yet. I didn't mean for it to be 2 parts, but the whole video didn't upload originally and I didn't notice until someone pointed it out to me. So this part will cover tips for getting a Silhouette machine to register when doing print and cut on glossy material, and then cutting the stickers. Also, if you want to buy this sheet of images to make your own stickers or go along through the video with me, there's a link in the description. The file includes both a transparent PNG version and the SVG, so you can use it in either the free version of the Silhouette software or if you have Designer Edition or above. The last thing to consider before I hit send is to make sure that the machine is going to read the registration marks properly when using a glossy material. Also, make sure that the registration marks printed correctly. This one I printed before this one and my ink was a little bit dry. So one like this you might be able to color over with a black pen or Sharpie to get it to read correctly, but it might be best to reprint the page with the full registration marks already printed. Okay, so a couple of things that can help because glossy material can be difficult for the Silhouette machines sometimes to pick up on because you can get some reflective glare. So some of the tips I have are, the first one is the easiest, which is just close the lid while it's registering, and that's what I'll be doing today. The next thing is to use a piece of matte tape and just take a couple pieces off and put it over the area where the registration mark is in each of the corners. That can help reduce the glare. Another thing that you could do is to print out the design on a piece of like copy paper and then just cut off the corner of each of these registration marks. The fourth one too if you have a newer machine, and then just tape it over these, but make sure you're using a tape that isn't going to interfere with this machine reading it itself. If you are using a laminate, like a clear glossy laminate, or like a holographic film to cover it before you do your print and cut off the corners so that the machine isn't trying to read through the holographic part, and then apply it to your page before it gets cut in, and that way you'll have these corners with the machine to read it. Or again, print on a piece of paper and put those in those corners. Just this one is a little risky because you want to make sure it goes in the same exact spot. And then if you were using a transparent material, this one isn't inkjet printable, but if you had a printable shrink film or a printable overhead transparency or acetate, then you might try this trick again where you cut off the corner and put it on, or you could just cut off a piece of white paper and put it under the registration mark so that the machine isn't reading the lines of the mat, which can confuse it and cause the cuts to be off. So again, my machine usually cuts just fine. These are just some tips if you are getting cuts that aren't lining up properly. And then again, I always recommend pausing the machine, making sure it's cutting correctly, because you can always unload, reload it, try one of these tips, and then not waste your paper. I'm going to close the lid so that I don't get, because I have these LED lights, I don't want the reflection to be interfering. So we won't be able to watch it register, but we'll hear it. And then as soon as it is done registering, as it starts to cut, I'll open the lid, and then I'm going to hold my thumb over the pause button. And if anything starts to happen strange, I'll pause it, unload it, cancel the cut, try loading it again, and then see if I need to make any changes to anything that I've done so far. And I'm going to click send. And that looks excellent. All the way down to the last one. So exciting. Okay, I did just unload it. I shouldn't have done that. Anytime you cut anything, you should always check to make sure it cut through before unloading. But we did do just a test cut recently, so I know that that cut, look at that, perfect. Okay, so now let's try to remove it from the mat. I'm gonna turn off my machine. I can't get over how tiny this is. It's just right here. Okay, so I'm going to put the shiny side of the protective sheet on top of this because there is some exposed sticky right here. So just kind of roughly line that up. Turn it over. And then now we're going to cross our fingers and peel the mat off of the back. This is a little bit more difficult than on the 12-inch mats where you have the rollers going along the edges. I always say you should try to avoid or not have the rollers going over the sticky part, and this is kind of why. You can see the roller really embedded the sticky onto the back of the paper, but you don't really have that option with the portrait. So I'm going to keep going at an angle here. Oops, starting to tear a little bit. This is not going to get the best of me. Right. There we go. I just have to be intentional and careful. And I'm going to time lapse this because this might take me a little bit here. Okay, so I just released that, and now I can cover that up. That's saved for another project. And then here is our sticker sheet. So I can leave this on, I can peel it off. It did leave some of the matte residue on the back, so I'm not sure. I think I'm actually just going to trim that off with scissors so it's not, it's very sticky. All right, well, there it is. I guess a little over a year of being scared of getting that machine out. And once I opened the box and started going, it wasn't that bad. And I have a beautiful sheet of Halloween stickers here. Well, thanks for joining me today and following along. I hope maybe you picked up some tips, and I really hope that if you have a machine sitting in a box somewhere, that you get it out and just start moving through the steps. Take it one step at a time, and that you are able to make things that you have always wanted.